Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Hetty Coleman Podcast, where I truly enjoy having go-in conversations with fabulous people because I think through these conversations, we're able to get their story out there. And from their story, I believe you can do three things, people. I believe you can do three things. One, you learn from it. Two, you're inspired by it. And three, you're able to connect with people through their story. And so today, I have my friend Seth Russell joining me. Seth, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Hetty?
How are you doing today?
I'm glad to be here. I'm
Good.
glad to be here.
Good, good, good. Now, before we jump into some of your story, I got a few questions because I follow you on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
I believe it's just Seth Russell Music. Let me check. I'm pretty sure that's all it is.
Yeah, I think it's Seth Russell Music.
Yep.
So I
Yep,
follow you on
Seth
Seth
Russell
Russell.
Music.
I follow you on Seth Russell Music, and one of the things that I've noticed on Instagram is your wall panels and things like that to absorb, so you won't get the echo and things of that nature.
Yeah, yeah.
So the question is, did you build those yourself?
Oh, yeah. Everything in this room, in fact, the whole room, I built myself. My dad, so I guess kind of a little bit of a backstory for me is I grew up doing construction and remodel with my dad.
Okay.
So this whole studio was kind of a culmination of all the skills that I've learned with him and my brother. So yeah, it was pretty easy overall. Most of it's pretty basic building, nothing fancy, but it works for me.
So what are the panels? So I'm looking at the wall back there, the blue wall right back there, and there's a panel, sound panel right there. Is that what you call them, sound panels?
Yeah, so that one's actually a gobo, and those move around. So whenever I'm recording a guitar or a vocalist or whatever it is, I move those around to different areas of the room to catch any sound that might be culminating in that area and resonating at a harsh frequency. So
That's
yeah, it
pretty cool.
makes it super easy.
So even the ones that's on the wall you move around? I see the ones behind you. It looks like those roll,
Yeah,
but the ones on the
the
wall too?
ones on the walls can move actually, so I can take them off and move them wherever. They're kind of designed to be mobile.
And what are they built out of? The same thing?
They're actually Hoboken. I got the the not the earth bags, the coffee bags, and from Hoboken, and I just wrapped some panels, and it's called rock wool. It's a rock wool. It's a mineral product, so it absorbs
That's
sound pretty well.
that's pretty legit. Now I might have to reach out to you so I can get some. Because in my studio, I'm at home now because of the social distancing and all that stuff. And so
Right? Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
actually right now in the corner of my bedroom. But when I get back to my studio, I might have to reach out to you so you can, because I still have a little bit of echo in my studio where I just host my podcast and it's kind of my office.
Yeah, yeah,
But I might have to reach out to you. So, but I was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
ask that
for
first
sure.
so I won't forget. That's
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
that's pretty cool. So, Seth, let's just jump into your story. Go ahead and share your story with us if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I guess it started, my musical journey started when my older brother, at age 4, I'd just been born. He decided that he wanted to play fiddle and or violin, classical violin. So, and I come from a family that's 7 kids. We're homeschooled, very hands-on everything. So, mom got Braden a fiddle. He loved that. It kind of stuck, and we each got passed a violin for school. That was just that was like math or anything else. That was just something you had to do. And so I actually didn't really like it a whole lot. It was something that uh, it took a lot of work, and I was more into just going outside and playing and building forts and other things. So, and I also I would say that something that I kind of struggled with a little bit was just fine motor movements with my fingers and other things. So it was a little bit of a frustration for me. But then I ended up getting a mandolin, which is much like the fiddle or violin. And then I hopped from that to piano, and then hopped from piano to guitar. And then lately I've started taking vocal lessons in the last 5 years, and now I teach vocal lessons. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at now. But it's kind of, there's a lot of different aspects. But we had a family band for a while, and that was one way that I got out in front of people and realized that I liked sharing music with people. And music was more than just going in and practicing with your instrument for 3 hours a day or 2 hours a day, whatever you had to do. And so I think that's kind of where I realized I loved the sharing that happened in music. So yeah, that's kind of what got me here for sure.
Now, in that, have you kind of discovered that you're drawn to a particular genre of music, or what does that look like? Do you kind of diversify your sound? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We grew up doing Irish music because that's our grandpa is an O'Neill, so he really wanted us to do Irish music,
Uh huh.
and so he got us all the resources and the things to play Irish music, and I still love trad Irish music. It's definitely my roots, and that's where we kind of come from as a family band, and we're not playing together right now. My younger siblings are kind of putting something back together, but I found myself very drawn to pop and hip hop and more modern music, some jazz influence, but a lot of '80s music was kind of a drive for me. So I loved that kind of chorusy, big, epic sound from the '80s. So that's definitely snuck into my music a lot. But yeah, I would say more of a pop kind of orientation to my music.
Yeah. So, who's some of your favorite '80s people that you've kind of found yourself drawn to?
Oh man, Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston are my favorites. That's
Are
just
you okay?
you can't beat them. But there's lots of people. The Blue Nile, they're kind of a lesser known group, but they had a lot of really good kind of chill out music.
Okay.
I would say those are my top three probably from
Okay.
the '80s that I just can't get over. But
Okay.
yeah,
Do you have a favorite Michael Jackson song?
man, yeah, PYT is probably my favorite.
Okay. Okay. Pretty
Yeah,
young thing. Okay. That,
that or Man in the Mirror. That's a good one.
okay. Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
was the man? Well, I guess that was late '80s. Or was that late '80s or was that early '90s?
That that was early '90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
had that kind of that Michael Jackson
Oh
80s
yeah.
vibes though.
Yeah, 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 for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Yeah, so I recently had a gentleman on my podcast. Actually, it was the last one that I posted. His name's Sean Johnson, and
Okay.
he's an artist as well. And we were just talking about the importance of kind of developing your sound, like not s- how to stay relevant, in
Mhm.
your sound. And so I think when I think about people like Michael Jackson or some of those, they definitely have certain things about them that still feels kind of like when they were making music, it still all felt kind of 80ish, you know,
Yeah.
versus coming along and kind of mixing in with the relevant sounds and things of that nature. Have you found that to be difficult, and how do you approach that?
Yeah, as far as finding your own sound, I think that's something every artist struggles with a little bit, but I would say my sound has kind of been created because I've learned so many different genres of music
Yeah. Uh-huh.
because of my family. So, to give a bit of backstory there, we started with Irish music. Well, we actually technically started with classical, very classical violin, and it was very much all of our teachers wanted things to be very classical. And then we moved to Irish music, and that's more of a folk kind of music. And then we moved to kind of Western swing because that's what people wanted here in Guthrie when we moved here was they wanted Western swing or bluegrass. So we started learning
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And then whenever I started kind of branching off on my own, I'd been listening. I listened to a lot of '80s. I'm listening to a lot of Adele and Justin Bieber, but I also one of my favorite singers of all time is Michael English. Um, he's a Christian artist back in from the '90s,
Yep.
and just an incredible voice. And he had a lot of those '80s and '90s elements in his music, but very pop. And so it's just kind of a mixture of that folk music and that pop music kind of coming together, and that's kind of what's happened for me. And there's even an element of folk and hip hop kind of coming together in my music. So I would say it's not been something that I've really struggled with as much as just it's just kind of happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And even, there's whenever I was learning how to produce beats or, start a song, I think a lot of times the best way to get started is by imitating other people.
Yeah.
But I found a lot of people will say imitate exactly, try to create a song exactly like another artist. And I could never do that.
Yeah.
I'd start with the beat or something, and then it would turn into something completely different and would never sound like them. So I think as long as you let the music breathe,
Yeah.
you're gonna have your own unique sound. Now, if you're in rap or hip hop and you're doing like straight, I'm definitely more of an alternative pop. I would say I'm not like straight up pop. So, if you're doing rap or hip hop or just straight up pop, it's definitely you're going to be using certain samples that all the big dogs are using, and you're
Yeah.
going to be using a lot of kind of those standard sounds. So it's less, it's little harder to find your own unique sound. But what I've kind of been doing is like I don't really play a lot of modern music is electronic, and I mess around with that a little bit, but I'm much more comfortable with acoustic instruments, upright basses,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I'm making pop music, but I'm taking a lot of acoustic instruments and I'm taking a lot of real sound samples and putting that into the computer and then editing it to where it sounds more like those big hits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of starting from ground zero, which I think helps you kind of maintain your own sound. So
Now, are you familiar with the Roots?
with the Roots, I'm not sure.
Oh, you need to check out the Roots. They're more live instrumentation and not a lot of the
Uh-huh.
electronic. Not, you know. But yeah, check out the Roots.
Okay, yeah.
I think you would dig them. They're hip hop, but oh man, they're some of
Okay,
the
yeah.
best. They play for one of those night show hosts. Oh man, oh, I can't think of his name. But check them out. I'll send you a link for them. But
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they're one of my favorites.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, check them out. So, so talking about finding your sound, right? But what is it to mean to you? Like, what does that mean to stay relevant in your sound, though? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you can have some musicians who kind of they feel dated. They have their sound, but they're not able to change that sound up on the times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, even though you may have some
Yeah.
people like, man, I just want to keep that 80s sound, right? And there may be some
Right.
that's all they listen to. Like my younger daughter, she's 13 and she likes Journey.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
she's into that, so she likes that sound, right? But then there's some of us who like, man, okay, now that sounds a little dated to me. I need something new, fresh, you know?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
have you done as an artist to kind of stay fresh and relevant? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it's always learning.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's when people get stuck in their sound is I'm always curious. And so every time I hear a new song that comes out, maybe it's on the radio, maybe it's on Spotify, maybe it's an artist that I listen to, I'm always listening to like how is this mixed? Because a lot of what makes something feel dated is not necessarily the sounds that are being used. That
Mm.
is an element, but a lot of it is the way it's being mixed. And being
Ah,
an engineer myself, I'm kind of able to tweak that and listen to other songs and try to pull from that and get that more modern edge into my music without compromising my sound.
mm-hmm.
So,
No,
and
that's
and I
good.
will say for me, I'm just starting out. Right now I've got stuff on SoundCloud. I'm vamping up for my debut EP. So it's not like I've already established my
Yeah,
sound and people like that's his sound.
yeah.
Um, but I would say throughout my album, I've already kind of created a sound that I definitely want to kind of stick to for sure.
Hmm. Let's talk about the journey of putting out your first EP. Like, what has this been like for you?
Well, it's been fun. It's been kind of a long process, really, because I'm not I'm not paying the bills with the studio quite yet. It's getting there. I'm getting more jobs and stuff, but it's kind of been in between construction jobs, in between studio jobs. I've taken up videography now, and I'm doing that to kind of learn how to make my own music videos and other things. But it's kind of been a 2-year process. I'm just getting to the end. And it started out as a 12-song album, and I ended up cutting a bunch of songs and then adding a bunch of new songs. So it's ended up to be it's about going to be about 9 songs.
Okay.
And it really, I had, like when there's certain years of your life that kind of feel like turning points. And so I'm now 21. I started the EP whenever I was 19, and I'd just gone through some heartbreak, and I was also struggling with my faith a lot, and there were a lot of, I had a good friend die. There were just a lot of things that happened, kind of a culmination of things in that year. So every song in this EP is based off of that year and something that happened in that year. And so it just kind of, it was something that I just had to sit with. And so I've kind of been writing songs ever since about that year, and just trying to find a way to connect. And it's kind of been therapy for me too, I think what's great about song, whether it's your song or somebody else's song, if it connects with you, sometimes it helps you realize like where you're truly at emotionally or mentally, and can bring about some healing. So that's what I hope through this EP, that other people can be positively affected by it, and feel like, yeah, I've been there too, so that's kind of my hope.
Yeah, I think that's what make great. I think that's what makes great music, when somebody can kind of share their story through song,
Yeah,
or share somebody else's story, And I know some of it
right,
sometimes it's creative writing. Maybe it's nobody's story, but they're creating their own story. But
right.
when it's their story and they sing, you can just feel it, in their
Yeah,
music when they come and sharing it from their perspective and kind of their experience with life. And so, what
yeah.
with some of those different things, what are some things beyond music that maybe has allowed for you to navigate through those things? Um, that you've kind of faced, because right now, with this coronavirus and things of that nature, there's a lot of people who are going to have a lot of challenges that they're
Mhm.
facing in navigating through a lot of different things. What were some things that you did, or kind of allow for you to get through these things successfully, or as you progressing through them? So
Yeah, I would say some of it, for me, most of it was my parents. I've got an amazing family, and they're just so supportive of what I'm doing, and they really push me on. But I would say, the main thing was, um, you know, when you're going through heartbreak, or when you're going through tough times, or when you're going through maybe traumatic times, or times like these where nobody really knows what's going to happen. It's uncertain, and
yeah,
that's what's scary about it,
yeah,
Um, and I would say for me, it's just like I'm very goal oriented, and kind of figuring out
mm,
like how can I turn this on its head and make this something positive? How can I create a better outcome out of this? Is there a way that I can help somebody else through what I've been going through? And that's everything that happens to us as humans. I think we can look at all the bad stuff that happens, and we can either pout, or we can say, you know what? This is what God gave me. He probably gave it to me for a purpose.
yeah,
And I think if we're able to kind of find that, and find who we can help through that, through those hard times, maybe it's, you lost a child before pregnancy, or during pregnancy, and that can be really tough. But nobody else is going to understand how that feels like, except for the people that have gone through that,
yeah.
and being able to reach out to those other people and support them. And I think, that's what we have to do with our music or anything, is just look at what we're given, and see how we can help others through that, or maybe even just your family, or whatever circle of people you're in. So I guess I find purpose through trying to find um, the purpose in what's happening,
Yeah, yeah,
and then I find purpose through that. So yeah.
yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. So essentially, I kind of hear you saying. So what I have this URL, superherolist.com, and people can go there
Okay.
and kind of create their superhero list, which is essentially a goals list. Because I believe,
Mm,
like, when people put goals in front of them, it kind of helps them move forward, regardless of what you're
yes.
going through at that time. If you have a challenge, if you have something like, man, I'm facing a challenge, but I'm working towards something, I think
Right.
it just allows for you to get through it a lot better. And so it's cool to hear you say, hey, I'm goal oriented. I kind of focus in on some of those goals. But
Mhm.
then talking about your purpose, like a lot of people are trying to discover and figure out what is my purpose. And sometimes for us as humans, our purpose is probably more so about impacting somebody else's life than
Mm.
really focusing in on our lives, right?
Yeah,
And so
I totally agree.
yeah, and it's cool to hear you say those things and then talk about community as well. You know,
Mm.
it's the people who are around you and rallying together to kind of help us go through this. We use the hashtag community wins here in Guthrie,
Yes,
because
yes,
we know that when we're all together, we can win, right? When we're all working
right.
towards
Yeah.
some working together as a community. So that's super cool to hear you say that. Talking about goals, like, are you do you write them out? Do you put them in? Do you have an app that you use? Do you give yourself due dates? What does that look like for you?
Well, lately, it's kind of always been changing, but in the last year, I got this planner. It's called High Performance Planner, and I don't know if you've read the book High Performance Habits.
No.
A great, great book. But I would say this is the best. It's kind of it's a journal, but basically, there's on this side you put in the things that are maybe driving you for that day, or the person you want to become that day, and how you want to positively affect others. And then you have your list of things to do, your most important things that just have to be done. And then at the end of the day, you review and kind of see how you did for that day. And I think that really helps me to just kind of stay on track and kind of always be introspective.
Yeah.
I think that's a major key, and I think that's something I've kind of learned the hard way
Mm-hmm.
is to always be reevaluating myself, because it's so, especially in the music industry, it's so easy to start chasing the wrong things,
Yeah.
and that becomes your motivation, and maybe you don't even realize it. Maybe you're lying to yourself and saying, well, this is why I'm doing it. But kind of to always be reevaluating and saying, what's more important, getting a label deal or reaching somebody,
Yeah.
really touching somebody.
Yeah.
So,
So do you kind of have a mission statement for your music career?
yeah, I would say I just, for my music, what I want people to feel is like they're understood, or they have somebody that is going through the same thing as them.
Mm.
So like I would just say I want people to feel understood, and whenever they come hear my music or listen to my music, to be able to come as they are and just be feel relatable
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Like, I'm not the only one going through this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I like
yeah, for
that.
sure.
That's good. That's good. Uh, so when do you think your EP will be out?
The goal is this summer. I'm hoping to shoot for June, but we'll see how this whole coronavirus thing affects it. It was going to be this spring, but with everything going down, I decided to wait a little
Yeah.
bit longer
Yeah.
and wait till early summer is when I'm hoping to go for. So.
How has this impacted your ability to make music? Is it more so you just can't bring in the people needed to play certain parts of it, or is it just a hold up of like, is this in the right season to put music out?
Honestly, I play a lot of instruments, so I play all the instruments on my EP. I had one bass player come in and do some of the bass. He did about half of the songs on the bass because he's got this really groovy
Yeah.
approach, and it kind of comes from more of, he's got a lot of jazz. He does a lot of Stevie Wonder kind of stuff, and
Okay.
so I had a lot of fun with him. But he's really the only other person that's on the album. So as far as recording, that's been super easy. But I'm actually planning for a second EP as well. At this point, we talked about goals, and my are to keep music coming out. So it's actually been really good, honestly. The quarantining has been really nice because I've been able to write songs over the internet, like we're doing now, with other collaborators, and it's just given me more time to sit down and focus on my craft. So, I hate that people are having to go through this, and that it's affecting people financially and everything. It's definitely affecting me financially as well. But I'm also thankful for the time at home to be working on things and kind of keep bettering myself and creating more music. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, is there anything that kind of goes with your ability to do construction that translates over into your music?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of things. It's funny because I'm always when we're on the job, I'm always I'm always taking random tools and I'm messing with them, trying to see what kind of sounds I can get out of them.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, say it's a tape measure, I'm whipping the tape around. The other day, I can't remember, was it a blade or something? I've used ratchets to create. I really like African kind of percussion and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, but I didn't have access to real African percussion
Yeah.
at the time. So for a song, it's called Run. It's on my SoundCloud. I made it a little while ago, but I took like bell peppers and other things and created the percussion. But most of the percussion is created from tools from construction work. And I feel like I did a pretty good job of making it sound like more of that kind of African kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So used a lot of ratchets to kind of create different sounds, and then I have a djembe and whatever. So I would say that's the biggest way, but also just being able to build my studio. Obviously, that's been so helpful because I know a lot of people right now that are having to put their music on hold because they can't get to the studio.
Yeah.
And my studio is here in my house, so I'm very thankful for that.
That is cool. So walk us through like how did you think through your studio? What were some key things that you needed to have in there to be successful at putting together music?
Mm, mm. Well, I think obviously the equipment is important, but the design of the room, the acoustics, it's very important, and it basically comes down to three elements: the size of your room, absorption, and diffusion. And so diffusion is what you would consider like if you have uneven surfaces, the sound hits it and it's going to break up. It's not going to reflect in a direct wave.
Yeah.
And so I developed there's behind the camera there's a wall that's completely built out of pallet wood. That's the pallet wood's kind of cut unevenly, so it breaks up all the sound. And then I built the absorbers, and then on the ceiling, I'm not sure if you can see this. Let's see if I can tilt this up. You can see there are absorbers up
Oh
there
yeah.
on the ceiling, and
Did you build those too?
I did, yeah. So some of them are bigger for bass absorption, so that there's not an overload of low frequencies, and then some of them are for the higher frequencies that can get really harsh. So there's several elements. I did a lot of YouTubing.
Yeah.
I did about a year of YouTubing.
Wow.
So,
So what I don't know what it costs for a sound panel. Like, what do you think you saved in building them yourself versus going out and buying them?
I would say I saved over $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's acoustic treatment is far overpriced. I was able to get things, and like that wall that's a pallet wood wall right behind you, or right behind the camera, it's all pallet wood. So I was able to build a diffuser, which are usually, hundreds to thousands of dollars, with pallet wood. So there was no cost whatsoever, just my time. So
Yeah.
if you'll be creative, then it's actually fairly affordable. I would say the treatment in the room cost about $3,000. So
That's pretty
overall, it
cool.
was pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. That's really good. Do you think that, talking about being creative, do you think you've learned to be creative, or do you think you were naturally born creative?
That's a great question. I would say learned all the way. I am the least of musicians in my family, and everybody I work with music and collaborate with, I am not of that same caliber, but I definitely have a work ethic. So I'm willing to sit down and work on a song until I feel like it's perfect. So I would say every bit of my creativity, I think I've learned. And a lot of it, you can learn creativity from listening to other people's creativity or observing other people's creativity. Like if you're painting, I think you can't just go ahead and just start painting nature. If you really want to get good results, you go and you study other artists and the way that they achieved different results. And your own creativity comes out of the people that you study and the things that you absorb. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would say 100% learned.
That's pretty cool. So, talking about learning creativity, in that, there's a book. There's a book called "Still Like an Artist," and I can't. I have to send you the link, but it's
Oh yeah,
essentially.
yeah, for
Are
sure.
you familiar with that book?
I'm not.
Yeah, I
I'm
have to send
not.
it to
I'd
you,
love
but
to see it.
it's essentially what you're saying. Like, you have to go and kind of take in other creatives, and then
Hmm.
from that, I think it inspired, like, me saying, hey, I want to share these go in conversations, and so you can get your story out there. And one of the things I know will happen if people listen is they're going to be inspired, right? And they're going to be
Yeah.
able to see things in your story, and they'll be like, oh, I can apply those and make those my own. And I think
Right.
if you're willing to put in the work, like you're saying, and a lot of that work is time, to
Hmm.
listen, to watch YouTube, to see how to build the studio. How can I do it and make it mine? Like, you've made your own soundboards based on watching somebody else, but then using your own way of doing things, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
and then I think with experience too, like, I think with you doing construction all your life, you getting a violin at an early age, like,
Mm.
just experiences can probably kind of taught you some of that as well, like how to see things from
Oh
a
yes.
creative
Yeah, for
perspective and
sure.
things like that. So, are you? You said you're probably the least creative out of your family, or talented, or whatever. Are any of them still involved in music, and what does that look like for them?
Yes. So my oldest brother, he's a brilliant songwriter. Sensible Shoes, Braden Russell. I think you know
Yes,
him.
yeah, I know, Brad. Yeah,
He's got a great band, and he's doing a lot with music. Um, I would never consider myself a songwriter, but Braden's a true songwriter. I kind of just like Braden. He sits down and he mulls over a song, and that song, he's a real creative when it comes to writing songs. I'm more like I create the beat, I create melodies, I create whatever, and then the song is just kind of just spills out. I just comes out the way it comes out. Um, and it's more of just an emotional thing whereas Braden really he thinks of the best way to say things, and so he's got a great band. If anybody's watching this, I definitely would encourage them to go check out his band. It's kind of rock and roll based.
yeah,
But then my younger siblings, well, my other older brother is a great Irish fiddle player. He plays whistles, he plays mandolin. He's an incredible musician and very natural. I was not a natural musician. And the same for my younger siblings. I just watched them at their young ages. They're just cranking things out of their instruments that I never could have. Um, I think that's one thing that I've had to learn with music, and I think everybody does to some extent, is you can't judge yourself upon skill level with music. When it's something that's creative, you are your own fingerprint. You are unique,
yeah,
and yes, you can learn and you can improve, and I'm always trying to do those things. But I'm not naturally gifted like somebody like Michael Jackson or whatever. They just had like gifts. But
yeah.
I think talent is much different than giftings, and giftings you're given and talent you earn. And so yeah, I never judge myself by others because I know that through God I have kind of my own unique fingerprint, and I'm still valuable to other
Yeah.
people. Um, Even if I'm not as good as the kid next door, even if that's my younger brother at 8.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah. I think that's something that's important to kind of consider is different people need different music, and
Yeah.
you're gonna fill somebody's space, and you're gonna be able to help and heal somebody else, even if you're not the perfect artist.
Man, that's a great mindset to have, because I think oftentimes that keeps people from moving forward, because they don't think in that way. Like, there's somebody out there who wants to listen to my podcast. Now, I may not have everybody listening, but there's going to be an
Right,
audience for me, right? And
right.
but if I don't put it out there, if I let this idea that everybody's already listening to somebody else and I don't have an audience out there, I never move forward.
Hmm.
But
Yes.
when you have that mindset, like, somebody's out there waiting for me and I need to get busy, I
Yeah.
think that can help definitely move you forward. So that's
No, I
great.
think I think that's perfect.
Yeah, it's great to hear that you have that mindset, and are thinking in that way. Now, I know another thing that y'all do are the tiny houses.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
what? Tell me, how's that coming along? And have y'all had any success selling those, or are people
Yeah, so
gravitating to those?
yeah, so it's interesting. It's really it, financing is getting much harder for tiny houses.
Mm.
So selling is definitely harder. We still do construction. We haven't completely moved over to just building tiny houses. And for anybody that hasn't been in this, my family has a business called Cornerstone Tiny Homes. You can check us out on Instagram. But we're designing one for a guy now that wants to be completely off grid. It's going to be solar powered. It's I think everything on it. But we build them out of fiberglass SIP panels, which is essentially foam and fiberglass put on either side. So they're very light, but it's still built like a house.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of pride ourselves in building maybe not the fastest or um, we're not somebody that's just going to kick a house out
Yeah.
in a month or whatever.
Yeah.
But we try to pay attention to all the details and make sure everything is quality.
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing. Even though might sound cheap whenever you think of foam and fiberglass, it's actually a very high-end product that we're putting together, and it's just very light and very strong. It can take, I think, Cat 5 Hurricane, the material can. So it's definitely built to be tough.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
What is
And
your?
I'm not.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm not really the one in charge of that. I kind of just show up and help build. Um, you know, my older brother Blaine, he's definitely in charge of that, and he does all the design work and kind of he and my dad kind of line up all the materials and make sure everything's ordered. I just kind of show up and work.
That's yeah, yeah. No, I
So,
get it. Sometimes that's the best place to be. Just let me show up. Just tell me what to do.
yep,
That's sometimes the best place to be. So no, that's
yeah.
really cool. So who are some artists that you like? Man, if I had the opportunity, I would like to work with who? Who is that and why?
Oh, there's so many. You know, uh, yeah, there's just so many artists that I would love to sing with and play with. But I'm currently working with some amazing people that I've kind of dreamed of working with since I was a kid, and a lot of them were kind of Irish artists that I listened to back in the day. One, his name is Dave Curley, and he's kind of got that smooth Irish classic voice, that everybody is going for. And anyway, but he also likes pop music as well, and so we're doing something together. It's kind of been exciting for both of us, I think, because we've been able to try different things together. So I'm working with him, and that's definitely exciting. But as far as like working with an artist that everyone would know about. Uh, there's so many. I would say, it would be so much fun to work with Adele. I think Adele would be like, if I could work with her, and not necessarily singing with her, because my voice could never compare, but as a producer, I would love to work with her and
Yeah.
create some music and write some songs with her.
Uh-huh.
She can sell a song so well and bring so much emotion to a song.
Yeah.
She's just got so much power behind her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. You said that you like hip hop, and so I don't want to put you on the
Uh-huh.
spot, but who do you got a top five? Top five? Who's top
Uh,
five best
well,
rappers?
I would say right now, Lecrae is probably my favorite.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
always been a Lecrae guy, but no, I would say I'm kind of getting into there's kind of a subgenre that they're calling urban pop, which is like it's very hip hop inspired, but it's got maybe a little bit more of a melodic feel to it.
Uh huh.
So I would say from that kind of genre, less from like the rap side of things, more on the melodic hip hop. I would say Boy in Space.
Okay.
He's out of well, let's see. I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think he's from Norway.
Okay.
But he's got that really nice hip hop vibe to his music, but also maybe just a little bit sweeter kind
Yeah.
of sound.
Okay. And what's his name
Um,
again?
Boy in Space.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I have
check
to
him
check
out.
him
Yeah,
out. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I would say Lecrae's top for me.
Okay. Yeah, Lecrae is a talent for sure. You know,
Yeah.
he's a pretty amazing artist.
Well, I think just a good guy too, as well.
Yeah,
I like the vibe of his music.
yeah.
That's the one thing about hip hop music is, as a Christian, I do have some moral standards that it's hard to listen to some music.
Oh,
It's just
for
like,
sure.
well, I appreciate what they're doing, but on my conscience, Lecrae is somebody that it's like, he's got a good heart, and I think he's really trying to make positive music. That's maybe not all positive when you think of happy music,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's dealing with some really hard things,
Yeah, yeah.
but still with the hope of Christ in there as well. So I appreciate that
I was about to
a
say,
lot with him.
I think, as long as you're bringing hope in it, and I
Yeah,
think that's what he does. Everybody's gonna have a challenging story in some respect, right? You said you had heartache and you went through some things, but at
yeah,
the end of the day, though, you know what to point to bring some hope to people, and
right,
and I think in music, I hope there's always that piece, like, man, this is
mhm,
the challenge that I faced, but this is how I overcame it, or this is how I'm making
right,
progress, and for us as believers, the one true hope is Jesus Christ. And so,
hmm
but yeah, I definitely think that every song, every movie, what movie ends and there was no hope,
yeah, yeah.
So
Eh,
you
If it
definitely
didn't have hope, it was a bummer.
yeah. Yeah, you're like, man, that was dark, or I don't want to go see that again,
Right.
but a good movie filled with some hope, some challenge, overcoming, is always
Mm.
good. Now, are you a tech guy? Are you like, what is your Apple or Android?
Oh, I'm all the way Apple.
You
Every, yeah, it's just I'm actually it's funny. Um, whenever I'm working with other people, I'm always apologizing for how technologically challenged I am because I literally just know how to use the software to record music, and anything else on my computer, I get pretty lost.
you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so for me, Apple is a little bit simpler. Things are easier to get things from computer to computer
yeah,
or from your phone to the computer, and
yeah,
I need as simple as I can get.
for
So that's why I
sure.
go with Apple.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your on your home screen? What's some apps you're rocking out to right now?
Well, I would say Final Cut Pro, because I'm starting to do a little bit of videography for
Now
weddings
on
and
your
other
phone,
things.
which apps do you Final
Oh,
Cut?
on
Yeah, what are some
oh no,
apps? What are some of your
that's
favorite
on my.
apps?
Well, I would say Spotify is my top used
Oh,
uh, app. But I use some GarageBand, Gmail, Instagram. It's pretty simple, but I also use there's a couple moments, different apps for doing video or
okay, yeah,
content
uh huh,
on social media.
yeah,
Any of the moment stuff is really good.
okay,
But it's pretty bare bones. I
yeah.
just use the
You
basic things that make it easy.
you just a simple guy. I like it. You just like, I
Yeah,
don't.
funny. In fact, this phone is more of an iPod. My real phone is a flip phone, so um, that's simple enough for me. It makes it a little easier.
Don't tell my daughter. My daughter keeps saying, "Daddy, I want a flip phone." I'm like, I'm not getting you a flip phone. I'm not gonna get you a flip, and only because with the iPhone, you can you can do group messaging, and we're better
Right?
connected
Yeah.
and watch each other. We can see what's going on,
Yeah,
and
you can connect a little
yeah,
bit easier.
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah, yeah. We
sure.
can watch them if they go walk somewhere.
Right.
With the flip phone, I don't think they've gotten to that place yet, but
No,
yeah.
nope.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna.
my friends are always complaining about how hard I am to get a hold of.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, what was that? Oh man, I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you something. Oh, Final Cut Pro. Talking about Final Cut
Yes.
Pro. So are you liking? Had you used any other software before, or Final Cut Pro is your first, and you
Oh
jumped right
man,
in?
I've been ripping out my hair trying to figure this software out.
Yeah, I used to use
It's
Adobe Premiere, and then I went to Final Cut Pro because it's simpler, and as
mm,
far as how you can manage the timeline and things like that.
right.
But I don't get super complicated in it. But yeah, it can be. You definitely a
It
lot of
could,
YouTubing.
yeah, yeah. I've got a whole sheet of all the shortcuts for the keyboard, and I've written them all out because I know I'll forget them. And
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to learn it as quickly as possible. I've kind of set some goals again for myself of like how fast to learn this software, but it's definitely, I would say, anything technology wise, I kind of get a little overwhelmed. Like I had a friend that was trying to get me to set up FaceTime on my phone, but I had to use the email to set it up rather than the phone number. And
Yes.
I don't know why, but that just I felt a little overwhelmed.
Okay.
Just setting that up. So it's one of those things I dragged my feet on it for a while, and so anytime I'm learning new software, whether it was use Logic Pro X to create my music. When I started that, I just felt so overwhelmed, and felt so daunting to start using it. But I knew I wanted it. I wanted to be able to use it so badly
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, okay, I can go through this. I can do it. And so I learned that, and I guess I kind of thought that Final Cut would be similar enough, and it's kind of like, whoa, this is a completely different software,
Oh
and
yeah.
so I'm learning it, but it's definitely it's a little overwhelming,
Yeah.
but I'm determined to get there.
Now, is that
For sure.
did some of that? I don't know how. There may be some assumption of this. Did you grow up with a lot of technology? Like, does your family, like, who is a kid or anything like that, were you around a lot of technology, and do you think that kind of plays a part in it? Like, are your other family members the same way?
No, I would say I'm kind of unique in my family. I feel like my younger siblings know how to use an iPhone better than I do.
Okay.
Um, um, I wouldn't say I'm terribly technology. Like I can get around on them. I'm better than my grandparents. Um, I'm
that's
better
a
than my grandparents.
that's a great comparison. Seeing you're 21. No, yeah, and I know you're not because you wouldn't have a studio if you was terrible.
Yeah,
Like you're capable of
yeah, but
making things happen.
I would say our family, like, we played video games on the computer. We didn't really do like Xbox, or
Hmm.
we didn't really watch a lot of TV. I would say technology overall, we had good access to technology. But I wouldn't say we used it overabundantly.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
was kind of, our parents were very much like, if you have free time, go play out on the trampoline, go
yeah,
build a fort, go
yeah,
do something creative, build something, go
yeah,
play Legos, that
yeah,
kind of thing. So I would say, technology was more of a thing that is just um, learning the process of software is what feels daunting for me.
yeah. No, it for me too. I get it. No,
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. And
Yeah.
sometimes because I'm the same way, like I'll procrastinate or be slow about really jumping in and try to learn it because it just like. And I've also found like if I don't have time to be consistent in it, like to
Mm,
show up every day or every other day or something like that with it, it's like I don't even know if it's worth because I just got to relearn every time.
right.
If I do it once and then it's a month or 2 or 3 weeks
Right.
later that I touch it again, it's like I don't remember anything that I learned originally. And so,
Yes.
yeah, so I'm
You have to be consistent.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's good. Well, man, tell everybody once again, where we can find you at and on social media. If you have a website, what are those again?
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well, but I'm not very active. Instagram's a lot easier to get around on for me, so that's kind of been my main thing. But I'm Seth Russell Music on Instagram. And yeah, I just kind of post my music, and eventually I'll be posting my album. But from there, there's a link to my SoundCloud where you can kind of hear some of my older music that I've put out. That's maybe a little bit more folky pop kind of mixture. But yeah, you can get a taste of my music there on SoundCloud. Seth Russell, if you want to go straight to SoundCloud, I'm usually at the top. There's not a ton of Seth Russells that I know of doing
Yeah.
music, so. But yeah, that's where you can find me, is Instagram and SoundCloud basically. So
Well, Seth, I deeply appreciate you hanging out with me today for a go win conversation, and I definitely will be following up with you about some sound panels if you're
yeah,
into making a couple of those for me at some point. And so,
yeah,
thank you. Tell your family I said hello,
All right, I
and,
will.
let them know how much I said I appreciate you all as a family and the things that you all do and just your
Hmm.
kindness. And
Thank
so
you.
I deeply
Yeah,
appreciate
well,
that.
thank
So.
you. Thank you so much for having me on here, Eddie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Like I said, whenever you don't share a whole bunch on Instagram, but I see your stuff when it does pop up, and I appreciate you. And I was like, I always like people who are chasing after a dream and being creative in that. And I thought, man, you know what? Let me get Seth on here and have a conversation with him around some of the stuff that he's doing. So I appreciate it. And I saw your
all right,
studio
well,
too in
thank
the
you.
Instagram post, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I figured, I didn't know for sure. I figured you built it yourself just because I know some of your background. And then,
Yeah, yeah.
excuse me.
No,
And then
you're
I figured
fine.
you built those sound panels too. I was like, I bet he built all that. So,
Thank
so
you. I appreciate it, man.
yeah, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Hetty Coleman podcast. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, as always, go win.